Hey, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm really excited. Matt and I's goal is to make this one of the most memorable webinars you've been a part of all year. So not knowing where that bar is, we only got room to grow. So we appreciate that. I promise you, we promise you, this won't be a session that is death by slides. We want to give you practical application of some of the concepts you've been hearing a lot about in the industry, particularly around AI sales agents, what they are, what they aren't, and what value they can provide. Our goal is to also blow your mind a little bit. We promise that, and we'll have a special offer for you at the end. So again, welcome to our session. Team Vivun presents how an AI sales agent eliminates the biggest bottlenecks in your sales process. If your products, your services, and your markets are becoming increasingly complex and it's having a material impact on your velocity, you're in the right place. And if you're looking to understand how AI agents can accelerate your deal cycles, improve pipeline efficiency, and help you drive scalable growth, you're not alone, and you're also in the right place. So with no further ado, let's get on into it. If you go to the next slide, I always like to start with a big scary number. And this is why we think you need to take this step now. According to our friends at Salesforce, reps only spend 30% of their time actually selling. 70% of a rep's week is spent on non-selling activities. This drives me nuts, drives Matt nuts. It's one of the most painful, inconsistent statistics we see in all of B2B sales. And again, it's not from a lack of effort. I don't think sellers want to have this ratio look this way because a lot of the activities on CRM data entry, lead and account research, it's internal coordination with sales engineers and product managers, legal, marketing, et cetera. It's preparing documents, it's the follow-up, and it all adds up. And the kicker is that these things aren't optional tasks. These are things reps must do because they are critical to the success of a deal. And again, when your best reps are spending 70% of their time not doing the thing you hired them to do, it's not just slowing deals down, it's burning productivity, it's burning pipeline, and it's ultimately burning revenue. And this is exactly the type of friction we all thought AI was going to go ahead and eliminate. So if you go to the next slide, I promise this is not death by PowerPoint. But again, when Matt and I attended the Gartner CSO Summit last month in Las Vegas, this was the slide that the keynote speaker shared around the notion of workflows. And when you think of the three kind of areas where sales spends a lot of time, it's attracting the buyer, it's the acquisition, and then it's the retain and expand. You see a host of separate workflows that a sales rep has to do. And the speaker identified these as prime candidates for what AI should go ahead and automate. And it could be a combination of AI workflows or what an agent needs to do. Matt and I have a strong opinion on whether or not you need an agent for every single one of these tasks, or whether or not you need one agent to do all of them. But again, when you look at this slide, I want you to remember that there's kind of these three buckets of what you do to attract a buyer, what you do in the messy middle to acquire that buyer, get them to sign, and then what you do most importantly after the ink's dry to get them to onboard successfully, get them to use, get them to adopt, get them to retain, and most importantly, get them to expand the spend with you. So Matt, let's talk a little bit about the messy middle.
Well, and just a quick audio check. How am I sounding for you, Gerard? You're sounding great to me.
You sound phenomenal, man. I'm not just saying that.
Well, it's easier here than the big stage at the Gartner event. Look, Team Vivun, we're experts on two things in two areas. So this is one of them, which is that messy middle of selling. It's everything that happens between first call and customer go live. That's not only where we've spent our professional careers being sales engineers, sales leaders, product leaders, but that's also who we support and work with deeply as companies, like really, really large sales organizations that have AEs and SEs working together to get deals done when pipeline shows up at the door. And to your point, Gerard, this is where most of the time is spent. 60% of the time is spent in this zone. And it's funny, yesterday I was on with a CMO of a multi-$100 million company that's done all these investments to bring pipeline to the door, to refactor the SDR team. And he just talked about pushing the bottleneck to the right, because what's happening was more pipeline came in, but execution was still preventing that pipeline to turn into real dollars for the company. I also like to think of this as the traction zone for revenue. This is where your company makes money. This is where your sellers get paid. And this is where everything happens from that very first interaction to the deal closing and that customer going live. If you hit me on the next one, we're also experts in a second area, which is brain building. And kind of like, okay, Matt, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean by brain building? And this is how Vivun is uniquely suited to not only provide innovation in this AI age, but to do it for this particular use case in this zone of the messy middle. Oftentimes when our clients are adopting AI, they start with engineering. They say, hey, let me go buy a solution like a Cursor to help my engineers code better. And then they go to the right of the bow tie for L0, L1 support cases. Let me help go and deflect trouble tickets by allowing an agent to just answer questions. And then they go to the left of the bow tie for pipe gen. Let me go and figure out how to generate outbound at scale. And all of that zone, those are great. We've made the same investments here at Vivun too. And normally folks are then left holding the bag when it comes to where the money is actually made. They have a huge mix of people, process, multiple systems, custom built solutions, 27 agents run around to do all that stuff at Gartner. So you need a brain that can think like the best seller on the planet to then assist all of your sellers to do the best work, to close what's in front of them. Not to have all your reps ask your CMOs, hey man, give me 10 more deals. I don't like the 10 that I got. It's how do I go and execute the highest conversion of the 10 that are now coming my way. So why do we know about brain building? Well, if you hit me on the next one, we've done it 3 times now. So in different industries, if you see who some of these nice looking gentlemen are, on the far left, this is Louis Bell, famous music producer of Taylor Swift, Post Malone. Right, our team has worked with him to model expertise on what do you do to build a platinum album. In the middle, it's Ray Dalio, Bridgewater. Our team has worked with Ray to figure out, well, how do you model expertise to run a hedge fund? And on the right-hand side, well, V and Gerard, you guys probably should have put my face in there with myself with the sales organization. This is our bespoke AI-generated sales leader, but we've done the same process of how do you model expertise to get a very specific job done better than any other human could possibly do it, codify that in a system so it can be infinitely scalable and repeatable. And we've done that with the world of sales. So here's how it works. If you hit me with the next one. The LLM, right? We use a large language model as a backbone for how you interact with our service. That's just the mouthpiece. And for us, the way that the service adds value is allowing the brain to do the work. So the LLM is the mouth, and the brain operates like a human does, which is it understands what is the work that ought to be done in a given scenario, and how can that work be done to the highest degree of quality possible. That's what the brain knows how to do. Just like the brain knew how to build a platinum album, or the brain knew how to manage a hedge fund, the brain knows how to run the messy middle. Mm-hmm. And you connect that brain to all of the things that your humans have access to. And you look at, well, what do we have access to as sellers? Well, we have access to our CRM systems like Salesforce. We have access to collaboration tools like Slack that might be internal between Gerard and myself. It also might be external between ourselves and the prospect or ourselves and the customer. We have conversations that are always taking place, a call like this one, or something that's going on through Zoom or Microsoft Teams or even Gong. We have information that's stored in documentation, repositories, PDF files, right? All of that context is what your humans are normally wrangling to do their job. And that's why this becomes so much more powerful than either A, trying to bolt something onto a SaaS tool you have, or B, only being myopically focused to, oh, conversations are the center of my universe, because things are happening across emails and Slack channels and documentation and things with the customer. So we take that brain that knows how to do the most kick-ass work of all time. The LLM allows you to interact with it as the mouthpiece, and it has all the context from those tools because it can show up with all of the work done. So for you, Gerard, what does that mean for our folks?
Well, I think what it means for our folks, or I know what it means for our folks, is I know top of mind for a lot of them is that where does this fit in my RevTech stack? And what I want to be clear on, what Matt and I want to be clear on with the audience is that we don't think this replaces any of the tools you have. And we don't think this replaces the work your team does. If you go to the next slide, we know your sales team's using somewhere between 10 and 15 tools to support a sales process. Comes from the same survey Salesforce does with state of sales every year. You may have all the tools in the shapes you see here. You may have a few of them, but the reality is if you break those down into the tools you use to engage your buyer, the tools you use to get insights about pipeline and state of deals, the tools you use internally, your Slack, your email, et cetera, your RFP automations, your value messaging tools, and then the tools you use for visibility and more infrastructure, your CRM, your sales performance management. Those tools are going to roll up and aggregate into what an AI sales agent will just do for you, which is the action. When your rep in the heat of the moment has something to do, I don't think they want to cycle through 10, 15, or 20 different tools. What's the one tool they can turn to? What's the one digital teammate they can reference and work with to help them get the job done? And that's our point of view on how a real AI sales agent should work. You shouldn't have to toggle through multiple agents to get this work done. This should be something that the best digital teammate you've ever had with the brain of the best sales rep who's ever existed should proactively do the work for you. And again, we think some of the tools you rely on today may just stop functioning the way you're used to. Maybe some of the tools you're using today become obsolete because AI changes the way we interact with them. Or maybe some of the workflows that these tools you have will just be augmented because in some cases they're bypassed entirely by agents that can interpret, act, and deliver value in real time. Now, we know some of the vendors you already work with are branding their next feature releases as agents or AI sales agents, or the agents are coming. And that's narrow for their domain particularly. It may be just in content, maybe in forecasting, maybe in call summaries. And we know that this drives confusion. So we just wanted to help you reframe a little bit of this conversation and use the concept of the sales actions that need to take place in order for you to manage and navigate the messy middle. We promised this wouldn't be death by PowerPoint. And so why don't we just show them better than we could tell them and get into a little bit of a demonstration to show what an AI sales agent can do.
Sounds good, Gerard. And help me out here with screen share. Hold on, let me hang tight, guys, while I fumble through this. Make sure that you guys can see this okay.
There you go.
All right. We're in, and I'll provide some context of what we're looking for here too. But Gerard mentioned the definition of an agent is really confusing, really overused. And the simplest way that you can think about it out there is this a domain expert that can do unprompted work for my users? That's what the agent is all about. And not just a single task, but all of the work that needs to be done. You wouldn't allow your engineers to use an agent if it couldn't help them do all of the work that they needed to do. Same thing with support or pipe gen. So when you're looking at the messy middle, first call through close to go live, what is all of the work that needs to happen? And as Gerard mentioned, our goal is to show you a few things that you probably didn't even know AI could do for you today, and have a lot of fun along the way. So what you're looking at is our sales assistant. This is Ava. This is the sales agent that's going to go and ride along with me, the salesperson, on all of my core pursuits. And what are these boxes? These are the prospects that I'm working with. These are coming from Salesforce. And because of all the connective tissue with calendar and conversations, the agent knows what are the meetings that I have coming up, what are the things that have recently changed, and what needs my attention. So these are all the things that the agent is working on for me on my behalf that I want to engage with. And before we look at some of the work done in the core use cases, I wanted to set the table for, well, how the heck does this brain know what to do at my company? Because remember, we've built the greatest sales brain that knows what the best reps do. But just like when you hire your greatest rep, they need to learn about your business. Sure, they might be a great rep, but when they move from company A to B, they need to understand everything about company B. So the agent is trained just like a human is trained, meaning it shows up already prepared by doing a bunch of research on your organization from information that's publicly available, because your best new hire doesn't roll into your company and say, what do we do here? They have a point of view. And then you further reinforce it through agentic training that allows you to go level downs into your product portfolio, your specific use cases, your competitive battle cards, your differentiated customer stories, the way that you price and package, your specific sales methodology, just like you would a human. Now, once the agent has that booted up context that happens so quickly and will never forget, then you give it access to all of your systems and tools. And these are all the GTM tools that you're already using today. I mentioned Salesforce as that first core point, but your calendar, your email, your conversational intelligence and recording tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams, even information like Slack or Gong and Chorus, right? All of these other tools now become available for this agent to use to just get my work done from first call through go live in one place without a bunch of tool toggling and fatigue. So 3 interesting use cases we're going to run through that are going to be dramatically different workflows than what your sales team does today. The first one, every sales organization needs to be world-class in building value cases, because that's how they prevent deals from getting stuck, stalled, or lost to competition. We're going to see that in an agentic world. The second thing, I'm going to show you how things in your process that you're humans today just get deleted, like doing sales handoffs. Those aren't a thing that you need to do anymore, and I will show you radically different workflows there. And the third thing is deal strategy and review. All of the one-on-ones and meetings and coordination that happens internally with your sales organization today, how your reps can get real-time help, coaching, and guidance anytime that they need, and management can understand what's going on in the deal so they can drive the best strategy for it anytime that they need. So we're going to see those 3, and then we're going to go and show some of the interesting things that come with this. So let's go into our fictitious company data systems here. And data systems, what's been really interesting about this is that we've had a lot of interaction. You'll notice that we've had a bunch of different conversations. So these are calls and discussions that we've had over time. The customer has been giving us documentation, whether or not it's an RFP, a requirements matrix, a spreadsheet of use cases that they need resolved. We have internal and external Slack channels that connect with the customer as well. So all of that information is coming together that give us context to do the actual work. And this is the work. While I can always go and have a direct conversation with the agent like you would expect about using a system like an LLM, and it will go and pull from the web and public domain sources, the benefit is doing the work from all the information we have internally. So let's go create the value case. And it's already been determined what this value case for a fictitious data system company is all about. Well, they're trying to transform their sales organization, just like everybody on this call is trying to do. And this is how we're going to drive the impact and the alignment for how they're going to get a lot of offshore expansion opportunity with all of the supporting evidence, right? This is all of the details that the memory of the brain is pulling from, so you know you can trust AI. I get that question all of the time. How does this not hallucinate? How can my sellers trust it? Where is the data coming from? That's the point of the brain. The brain is forming memories on all of the content that is then used to produce the work that the humans know how to cross-validate and understand. So while there's a lot of information in this value case, here's how you're going to have a radically different workflow to present this to the customer in a way that you've never done before using different AI tools. I'm going to take this. I'm going to copy this whole value case that the agent came up with, but I want to put it in our branding. And luckily, Gerard, our CMO, and other CMOs out there, they have tools to make sure that our branding is always consistent in things that you might normally use for PowerPoints. In this case, at Vivun, we love our other Excel-based company over here at Gamma. And we're just going to say, hey, let's go paste in this value case and allow Gamma, an AI slide builder, to take that information, put it in the format that my marketing team has told me is one of our sort of core themes, and allow it to then just go generate it in our branding. So this entire workflow that your sales team normally struggles with, which is how do you produce a very relevant value case for a potential customer? They have to do the thinking, the conversations, the discussions, the strategic drive of what do we make the point about? And then they need to go put it in a format that the customer can readily intake and accept and collaborate around. And that is what's happening now in 30 seconds. That normally takes a sales organization weeks at time, and they do it to a C- level, which is why over 60% of sales opportunities stall and get pushed out. Now, I'll stop our generation here because you guys are getting the point of how that's a radically different workflow that's about to change. And let's pop back in and see a second workflow that's going to be radically different. And that second workflow is when we close this customer, we need to do a handoff. Our customers do not do handoffs anymore because you don't need to. All of the information around why they bought, their strategic objectives, the key stakeholders, who is who in the zoo, what did they care about, what were their expectations, what was the implementation timeline and phasing that we agreed to and the use cases that we were going to employ. What were the risks identified and the commitments that sales made or overcommitted that the post-sales team needs to be sort of cognizant of? This is just a table of contents for all of the supporting detail and information that now can be taken and consumed by the post-sales team, and any question can be asked of the agent specifically to say, hey, wait a second, what did the economic buyer really care about? What were the integrations that we're going to go and pursue again? A whole conversation now that normally used to take humans weeks and weeks and hours doesn't actually even need to happen anymore. Third thing I'll bring home is doing a deal strategy, deal review. Well, how do we get this deal even to the point that we're ready to build a value case and that we're ready to do a sales handoff when it closes? Well, when the agent was trained, it knew the methodology of the company. Whether or not it was MedPick or Spiced or Band, Command of the Message, right? You spent all of this money on sales training, sales methodology to make sure that your sales team knows how to drive deals the right way. Well, in this case, MedPick is our example. And this is not only the world's greatest MedPick you've ever seen, but it's something that you can actually trust versus people running forecasting saying, well, is the Salesforce field filled out? This is a qualified deal. That will not actually help you. You need to understand, where does this really stand? And then what can I do to progress it forward? And that's what's happening here. We have a detailed view here that this deal actually isn't qualified. There's some strengths. There's a lot of gaps. There's some recommendations. And the full-blown assessment gives me the understanding of what's happening here. And remember, this is not coming from fields in a CRM. This is coming from the agent using its reasoning ability as the greatest seller with the context of your business to actually figure all of this out. And for a rep, this isn't just, hey, something my manager will find valuable when they're drinking a glass of wine at 10 at night trying to figure out how my deal is going. But this is hugely valuable for me because every single one of these AI interpretations, like our poor score on the economic buyer, is actually backed up with an assessment in what the heck I should do about it. So as a seller, I'm now not only getting work taken off my plate, but I'm getting strategic direction given to me by the best sales coach of all time on any single pursuit that I could possibly want. Before I close this out and turn it back over to you, Gerard, just because there's so much more that we could talk about if you think about that, I wanted to hit the last point that you mentioned when you brought up the Gartner slide. There were a lot of boxes in that messy middle zone because there's a lot of work that sellers do. There's a ton. When you think about first call through go live, you're getting prepped, you're doing competitive research, you're doing briefings, you're internally telling your manager, you're doing strategy, you're building value cases, you're doing handoffs, you're giving product feedback back to the customers, all this stuff that happens. And if your reps need to go to multiple systems, your reps will not benefit from AI. They will fail because they're going to bespoke things that don't have the full context and they're toggle switching across everything. So a very, very simple example of why this becomes powerful to have everything under one hood is a very new deal that has no accelerators. So if you look at this fictitious company, Certo, well, we've just had a meeting 2 weeks ago, but we don't really have anything upcoming and there's no accelerators because the deal isn't far enough along for the agent to know it should be doing any work yet. But when this call was prepared for, I said, hey, I'm meeting with this guy from Certo today. Be creative, create a detailed prep doc for me for this call. I want to know about him, his background, what we have in common. I want to know about the company, their competitors, their funding. And instead of this being some bespoke one-off tool, it just happens in the general context of everything that the seller is using to do their full job. And what's fun about all of this is, well, in this case, he has a very interesting background of not only being in sales, but being a professional hockey player in Canada. Well, he's a professional hockey player because we were actually using public information, not just LinkedIn, to source this from services like Elite Prospects. So I bring all this up because with a single agent, you can be calling out across public domains and public webs and public systems, as well as all of those great internal tools that you have in your, that you've already invested in, with all of the bespoke interactions that you've had with your customer across emails and conversations, to take the entirety of the work off of your sales rep's table from first call through go live, so they have the best shot possible at closing what's in front of them and not begging for 10 more deals. All right, Gerard, over to you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, and again, like if you can work better with the ones you have in front of you, finish your breakfast first before adding more food to the plate. We just think that's a better throughput in terms of revenue. I know time might not be the sexiest value proposition, but Matt showed you just a few of the accelerators, and we just did some estimates and working with some of our early adopter customers to figure out how much time this actually saves. This is where our stats come from. We believe that with just the accelerators you see today, we can save organizations as much as 25 hours per opportunity. And it's less about the time saved so that the rep can go golf or time saved so they can go play a video game. It's more around making sure that instead of just doing an okay job with a handful of the opportunities in front of them, they can give their full attention to all of them. So instead of cherry picking and saying, I'm going to really work this one, this two, this three, they can give that full blown attention to all of the opportunities they need to close. And this is a quote from one of our early adopter customers. It's not about being more productive. It's about doing all of this work without sacrificing the quality. Every opportunity gets the A+ white glove concierge treatment. So again, just a small sampling of what the impact is. Here's what this looks like. If you go to the next slide, our big bold prediction, because Gartner does this a lot, Gartner makes strategic planning assumptions. Our big bold prediction is as follows. We just fundamentally believe and know that organizations who have reps who have AI sales assistants, AI sales agents, will outperform reps who don't. Sounds like a no-brainer. I don't think anyone on this call disagrees with that notion, but we believe that this is how organizations get better with scale. It's not just having AI sales agents and AI sales assistants and a bunch of AI workflows for just having them's sake. It's the opportunity to work what you have more effectively, more efficiently, powered by artificial intelligence in a way that makes sense. And we just believe that that way that makes sense is the acceleration in the messy middle, where, as Matt said, 60% of the action happens. So Matt, I feel like I feel bad. I feel like I've put you on the spot a lot, but if you go to the next slide, you can tell folks practical ways to get started with this, because I know it might feel daunting to folks to figure it out, particularly with the just host of solutions out on the market. But how would you advise folks get started if they wanted to right away?
Well, everybody needs a quick win, and everybody is expected to be delivering wins in AI for their boards and their companies, not just because it's the thing to do, but it will actually transform their businesses. So you'll never just jump straight to run. So for crawl, the easiest way to crawl is that every company, every organization has a sales team, one of the groups, whether or not it's your North American enterprise East Coast team versus your North American Strat West Coast team, right? There is a group in a pocket that they just naturally are a little bit more forward leaning than others and open to experimentation and change for the work that they want to do. And what's phenomenal in a crawl is you pick that pod and you pick that group of individuals to go and do all of the work. So that's why you see here in crawl, all the colored bubbles represent all the different types of things that the accelerators can actually drive. And these are for the forward leaning folks that like to be part of the adoption cycle of new tech to help them out and to see that across all the things that they do. Now, the difference between crawl to walk is, well, there's a lot more faces under walk, and then the color becomes uniform in nature. So what we're saying here is that a lot of organizations, and it's okay if you guys are like this too that are watching, will work with customers that some of their teammates have never even logged into ChatGPT before or a similar service. That's okay, right? But they need to know that that's part of their job moving forward, and you can't just throw everything at them. So while you might have a single pocket of a team, the East Coast strat team is the ones that are really driving it forward, that they figure out is, you know what, if we give the sales handoff to everybody, or we do the MedPick review for everybody, everybody is going to be able to now step into this future AI world. So crawl to walk becomes, you give everybody the ability to do some of the work on their plate, targeted to the most important single piece of work that you hold your team accountable for, that's going to help them with conversion the most. And then run is pretty self-explanatory, which is all of the people are now comfortable doing all of the work collectively together. And that's how you deliver a win to your teammates, because your sales team is going to be putting more cash in their pocket because their conversion is higher. They're just going to be happier because their attainment is higher. But when you turn around and have your executive discussions and board level discussions on how you're deploying AI strategically, now you have a strategic bet in all areas of your life cycle, from engineering to L0 trouble ticket support to pipe generation to the messy middle where deals and revenue actually gets made.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we promised this would be action packed. We promised to get you in and out in just a little bit. I'm going to leave you with 3 big takeaways, and then I see questions in the chat that we'll 100% address. If you take nothing else away, I'd say it's these 3. You win in the messy middle. You focus on your core. The top performers in your organization don't worry about chasing more, getting more meetings, begging marketing for meetings. They crush what's in front of them. They eat what's on their plate before they go to the buffet to add more. This is where the time is spent, and this is where deals are won and lost, and just maniacal focus here will change your revenue curve. When you think about agents, think about what you saw today. Real AI agents take action proactively. This isn't just something that you observe and maybe put something together. It acts with context and expertise, as you saw with the agent intelligence, our approach to building agents. So we want to be able to guide, generate, and follow through so your whole team moves faster. And then the third is just don't wait. I know it's scary. I know it can be daunting. I know there's a lot out there, but everyone starts with a crawl, walk, run. And if there's a pragmatic way for you to get started that you'd like to discuss with us, we'd be happy to have that conversation with you. But be clear that the race has already begun, and waiting just means that gap's getting wider. Matt, there's one question in the chat from our friend who asked, Ava looks great. How does it compare to Salesforce AI agents? Do we replace it? Do we work with it? What's the protocol here?
I would say different use cases. So much of like Agentforce focus is around SDR, like that left of the messy middle side of you're trying to generate pipeline by doing outreach and outbounding. Agentforce also plays a role on the right side of that bow tie, sort of closing trouble tickets. And that zone in the middle, right? There's not really a analogy there for Agentforce unless you're custom building something. And I think that's the big difference, where our agent shows up with a brain that knows the job to be done, and it shows up proactively with all the work done that your IT team does not need to go and custom build and create. So Agentforce, phenomenal solutions for those different areas of the universe of where they're playing, and same reason why we exist in our core zone, that we can deliver better than anybody else because we focus on the brain that does the work in that zone.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Barry, for the question. All right, we'll leave you fine folks to it. Again, you know how to connect with Vivun because you registered for this webinar. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to Matt, myself on LinkedIn and other channels. And if you'd like a customized demonstration of Ava to see what she can do for you and your organization, don't hesitate to reach out and make that request. We'll follow up with all of you accordingly. But thank you for your time and attention this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Gerard.